Folks, good buddy Creedmoor Fury coming to you from East of Eden Growers Place, right here in his back to Eden Garden, Piedmont, North Carolina. Join me today for today's episode. I'm going to teach you something different, something new, and hopefully something that's going to do you lots of good. The other day I went over the whole concept of making plant extracts in the effort to utilize those plant extracts for raising the sugar content of the soil. And what I want to do today is I want to show you how I actually put that together. So I've taken the liberty of grabbing a 2-gallon pail. I also grabbed my handy dandy filter bag. It's relatively clean. I rinsed both of them out and I really scrubbed the pail down because I wanted it to be clean. But we're going to take a little saunter on over to where the compression digester is, and we're going to pull out all that liquid extract. I'm going to strain it through this here meshy mesh. Y'all can use 400 mesh. It works great. Normally that's what I use, but in this case I'm going to use this. So here we are at my compression extractor. I'm going to go ahead and pull that pail out. Hopefully Mr. Snake stays put, and hopefully Mr. Skunk stays put too. He's still here, living the life of Riley. Anyway, I've got almost a full pail. I'm going to go ahead and hopefully y'all can see that. So I'm just going to pour this into here. Look at the color of that. It is so dark. That's pretty much it. Whatever castings from the insects are still in there at the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and slide that back underneath. Like I said the other day, there really isn't an aroma to it. It doesn't stink. Now all I have to do is remove this. I think we'll go ahead and we'll leave this just like it is. And I'm going to walk back to the other part of my garden where we're going to put together the second part of this. Anyway, so what's the second part of this? Well, the second part of this is I've got to get a leaf from the plant whose bricks I intend to influence. I'm going to do that right now. I'll turn you around so y'all can see what I'm looking at. There's the plant. She's rather robust. I'm going to come over here. There's some fruiting going on in there. And I'm actually just going to go ahead and cut off a small amount of this right here. As I said before, we're going to check the temperature, which I'll record at the moment as 89 or 90 degrees, roughly. The other leaf, maybe a little warmer, not necessarily. So we're looking at 89 to 90 degrees when we took this. And now all I'm going to do is use my scissors, and I'm going to go ahead and actually cut this off right here. And we're going to test this. There's more than enough media here to test. Okay? All right, in addition to the plant temperature at the time of sampling being 90 degrees, it's also 6 p.m., so this is a nighttime sugar test, and we know that at night your sugar readings are going to be different. The sun and the plant has been photosynthesizing all day long, and as the sun starts to set, the plant essentially stops dropping sugar into the ground. It doesn't make much sense to do so anymore. So it's storing up its reserves for the next day, and we can actually see this when we take measurements. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this particular measurement now, and then over the course of the next 2 days, I'm going to take measurements at the same time. While I may not be able to duplicate the temperature range, I certainly should have no problem duplicating the time range. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put this together. We'll get some squeeze on. I'll show you all what the results are. First thing I'm going to do is make sure I've got my garlic press handy. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut the tip of this off, because that's the end of the road for it. All right, and there's plenty of green in there. There's plenty of hydration in there. There certainly was. I only cut this moments ago, and I'm going to go ahead and press this into garlic press right here as best as I can, with the hopes that I'm going to get some plant juice that comes out of it. If I don't get enough plant juice to take care of this examination, I'll simply add more. There's a refractometer. I'll do my best to balance this. Already see I've got plenty of juice extracted for the test. Right there, y'all can see that, hopefully. We're going to go ahead and close it up, cover it up. I'm going to take a look into the sun, We'll see. Who knows what we got? Maybe we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't know how many bricks we have at this point till we check it. And basically I'm looking at roughly 5 bricks. It's pretty cloudy because I did actually make a calcium amend 2 days ago, and I'm glad to see that the plant was that responsive. It took some of the calcium into it very, very quickly. Let me see if I can turn you around. That's not that easy to see. Hopefully you'll get a glimpse of it in there somewhere. You should see it blurry right around the number 5. So we want to improve that. Okay, so for the first bricks test that I showed y'all, we had a plant specimen. In that particular case, it was the blueberry plant, and it was already fully fruited. And it had already achieved its bricks threshold that put it into basically the land of unobtainium for insects. There were and still are no insects interfering with the progress of that particular plant. However, squirrels like them, birds like them, crows like them, and just because they're super sweet doesn't mean that the larger animals don't like them. We certainly do. But in any event, what we've shown here is this particular plant, this particular crop is woefully low in sugar content, and I would expect it to be so because we've only grown it one other time in that particular spot, and I believe it's going to take up these exudates into itself positively, and within a few days I'm going to be able to do another test on a plant part that's in a similar location, and I should see the bricks increase. I should certainly see the reserves of sugars increase at roughly the same time of the day. If I had done the testing early in the morning, I would want to do my sequential testing early in the morning again, so that I can get some measure of consistency across my tests. I'm going to go ahead and turn y'all around and show you exactly what this particular exudate looks like, and we're going to put it together with a small amount of additional sugar. I'm going to use some blackstrap molasses. It's low sulfur, so it should not impact any fungal colonization that's already in place. We wouldn't want to do that since we know there's already beneficials down there. We certainly don't want to hamper them by putting something that's high sulfur containing on top of them. There are some situations where that's not as big of a deal because you might have forms of bacteria that are sulfur neutralizing, sulfur metabolizing, and they are involved of the process of breaking those nutrients down as well. I myself, I'm only working with a garden bed that's not very old. Can't guarantee that they're present, but I'm going to tread lightly early on, and I'm doing my best to raise the sugar content of the soils so this particular plant, this Seminole pumpkin, can gain access to those sugars. So again, I'm going to use the plant exudate from the plant plus roughly 2 tablespoons of blackstrap molasses and a small amount of liquid calcium concentrate that I have. Typically when I use it, I'm going to use it in amounts that are equal to whatever other amends I'm putting in. So if I'm putting in 1 tablespoon of blackstrap molasses, I'll put 1 tablespoon of liquid calcium. Okay, you want to get that calcium in there. You'd love to get a little bit of phosphate in there. We're going to cover those nutrients later on. In the case of wood chip gardeners, you can pretty much guarantee if you just built the garden, a lot of those things aren't readily available, or they're not even there and in place at the moment. So you can't count on them automatically being there. The wood chips didn't steal them. They didn't exist in the first place. As the wood chips break down, become more and more fractionalized, become more and more synonymous with humus type soils, well, you'll find things change. The whole entire calculus changes, as a matter of fact. You'll now have access to nutrients that the plants otherwise wouldn't have. And how long does that take? It really is environment specific. It depends on how much life you have in your soils, how much you're growing, how much compost is there, how much humus is already there, how much of the native dirt below will actually sustain life. If any of these other things are working for you, you're going to find your ascension to really, really high producing back to Eden soils very quickly. So let's move on. I want to get y'all your eyes on this so you can see it and y'all can move on. I know your days are busy, so are mine. I've got other videos to make and other things to do. Let's take a look at that now. From left to right, let's discuss what we have here in this image. That's blackstrap molasses, 2-gallon watering jug. It's 4 liters. 4 liters. Anyway, in this 4 liters is also a half of a cup of high calcium hydrated lime. Okay, that's where the calcium's coming from. Y'all can use crushed eggshells if you want, but this is really easy to do, and I like easy. And there, of course, you have the resultant liquid solution extract from the video you'll find in the description below. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to set y'all up so you can see how beautiful this looks like. I'm going to finish making this amendment up and apply it to the garden. All right. We'll go ahead and remove this and set it to the side. It can be rinsed off. Afterwards, you'll see that the extract looks really, really, really good. It's nice and clean. There's no insects in there that you can see. There is plenty of insects in there. There are small ones. There's lots of microbiological life forms in there. It's the same life that was on the plant. That's why we're making a plant-specific amend. Okay, so that's pretty much dripped clear. Just going to toss that off to the side so it can be rinsed with the garden hose. You can see that yellow hose right there. It's food grade. There's a reason why we use that. That's a Flexzilla hose. Flexzilla, did I say that right? And it's potable water. Okay, so you can see over here there's a little bit of separation. The bulk of that calcium's on the bottom, so all I'm going to do is shake it up. No parlor tricks, folks. Anyone can do this stuff at home. And while that's not 2 gallons, it will be 2 gallons when it enters this. I'm going to add 1 more teaspoon, roughly 1/3 of a tablespoon. That way this particular mix has 4 teaspoons for 2 gallons. I can see some nematodes in that. There's probably some other things like springtails, some larvae from, other insects. Who knows, maybe some black soldier fly larvae. They all like to get involved in this stuff, and they're all beneficial. All right, I'm not going to get all that cleaned off, but I can. Okay, now we're going to go from here to here, and the remainder of the space will be filled with potable water. Y'all can use rainwater too. Who wants to see Creedmoor make a mess? Look at the color of that though, folks. It's so deep. If you see something dripping into it, that's my sweat. Okay, you can look in the bottom of this blackstrap molasses. We'll use water to get that liquefied. Once it looks like that, we'll pour it in. If you need to, do it again. See it? We want that sugar in there. Okay, there we have it. Now I'll go ahead and I'll add the remaining water. And all you have to do is keep it stirred, and it's ready for application to your plants. Alright, so I know it might sound crazy, but let's rationalize what we did, what we put together here. I can sit on this pail for a few seconds, and we can chit-chat about it. We used compression forces to remove the plant juice from the stems and the leaves of the media that we pruned off of a in-season, flowering, not yet fruiting, in-season Seminole pumpkin plant. Of course, it's growing hog wild, so since it's growing hog wild, it doesn't make any sense for us to not try to utilize some of the sugars and the metabolites and the microbiology that exists on the plant. They're going to do the plant the most good. It's absolute. You're giving them what they need, what they had, more of what they need. And if any other forms of beneficial microbes were present, which I have no doubt in my mind that others are present, especially given the fact that we're doing this particular process where the exudate maker is right on the edge of the woods over there, and there's a lot of life over there. That part of the farm doesn't get farmed. It's a windrow, and it's basically protected space, and it's where I make my compost. So it's already a haven for lots and lots of microbiological life forms that are actively engaged in decomposition, and many of which are also engaged in recomposition. So the rationality is there to take the living juice or the blood of the plant and put it back on the plant again, because the nutrients are already in place. The justification for adding 4 teaspoons of blackstrap, low sulfur blackstrap molasses, that's there also, because I actually want to increase the amount of sugars available to the plant. And in one particular season for this particular plant, I can do this more than once, because the plant life is long enough for me to take from it and give back to it. In the end, what happens is the plant gives back to me. If you happen to be in a super active insect zone, one of the suggestions I've made before is to use BT, which is Bacillus thuringiensis. It's a bacillus strain of bacteria. It's the most widely used organic insecticide on the planet, and you can actually apply it to the plant. I don't typically apply anything to the flowers, so my flowers tend to suffer, but they get visited by the bees. So one of my favorite strategies is to make the application of BT to the seed, and then to the seedling. And I follow this convention all the way up to the point where it's producing flowers, because when it's making flowers, it's now trying to utilize its scents, its aromatics, and plant phenols and things like that to attract the insects that it wants. If it attracts the bees, they come and they do their job, they thoroughly pollinate the plant, and wonderful things happen. If it attracts the insects that are there to consume it, the carbon cycle repeats itself. The plants come, they consume it, they desiccate it, they sip it for its moisture, they sip it for its weak sugars. Y'all saw I had some squash bugs on it. They were there for good reason. And, they're hoping that this plant doesn't take on more sugars. They don't want to see it get stronger, but it is. Because if it gets stronger and we see the level of Brix up where the level of Brix is on that blueberry plant or those blueberry plants, the insects don't have a chance. They have to go somewhere else. They can't tend to that particular crop for their young, because their young won't be able to feed off of it. And that's basically the justification for why we want to raise the sugar content of our plants. It's not just because the fruit tastes better. We associate sweet fruit with health and wonderful flavors and joy and happiness. And the insects that want to predate upon our plants don't have the same associations. They want the sugars to be lower in grade, lower in concentration. They don't want them to be at such toxic levels. And, to be clear on this, even humankind has an issue when his or her sugar content grows too high in concentration. Y'all know what we call that, right? Yet get it in the happy zone where we have a situation where we can achieve homeostasis and everything balances out, okay? So I don't know. We're going to make this application. It's really hot. I'm basically done telling y'all everything you need to know. You don't need to watch me pour it on the ground. That's all I'm going to do. I'm not pouring it on the leaves because it's got sugar in it. I'm going to pour it right on the soil. And that soil is also home to my corn. It's home to some beans. It's home to some potatoes. We just run what we brung. We stuff it all in there and just, let nature sort it all out. And this Brix Amendment thing has been such a benefit. It's been such a windfall when you're trying to re-steward. Did I say that right? Re-steward? It's my name, Stewart. When you're trying to re-steward land that was, once non-productive or inefficient. Land where, you haven't had photosynthetic compounds in the ground in such a long time, where the only ones that were there are made from grasses and weeds, and it's just not the same thing. If you want to grow annual plants, you need photosynthetic compounds from annual plants. It's beneficial to have the carbon from trees because that's universal. Carbon is universal to all plants and trees. And that's where we're at. So anyway, I chatted your ear off. It's been too long. I'm going to do my best to post this as soon as I can. I want y'all to reach me with questions. You've got to ask questions. There's just nobody that can take this traffic and not ask questions. Tell me, why, Creedmoor? Why do you need to put the extra sugar in there if you've already pulled all that sugar from the plant? Tell me why. Well, I mean, I guess I can answer that right now. Well, y'all saw the deficiency, right? 5 bricks? That's not good enough. I've got to get the bricks well over 8. I prefer it to be over 12. And, well, sugar allocations change when the plant shifts from vegetative state to fruit-bearing state. We've shifted to fruit-bearing state. So now the plant is also going to be pumping sugars into the fruit because the plant doesn't want the fruit to become victim to insect predation or fungal infection or bacterial infection or viral infection. It wants to be strong. It needs to grow fast. Gardening's a timed event, so I'm going to do my best to get over there, pour the stuff out on there, and let it seep into the wood chips, let it seep into the compost down below in the area of the plant where it's growing. And then I'll come back tomorrow and the next day, and we'll pop another leaf off in a zone where it can afford to lose that leaf, and we'll check it out. If I see something amazing, if I see something that really, really ignites a lot of, well, you know, fire in the brain, I'll shoot another amendment video and we'll post that as well. For now, God bless you all for doing everything you do. Thank you for visiting me on this journey. Thank you for paying attention. I hope you found Dr. Dykstra's information on plant bricks really, really good. If you're not already reading anything written by Jeff Lowenfels, you're not doing yourself any justice because there's so much information there. There's a wealth of knowledge he's posted. I'm just sharing little bits, little drabs of it, you know, here and there. And really, those two have made me wealthy of green thumbs. Okay? God bless, folks. Y'all be good. Peace until next time.